Good morning, everyone. It's the 28th of June, 2023. For you who are listening to this, you might want to listen to this morning's devotional, which I actually did it last night, entitled, We're Living in the Midst of Babylon. I think it's very apropos. We've been reading through this book, Phillips versus the State of Missouri, which happened 25 years ago. And Babylon has not fallen as yet, but it's just on the verge of falling, I believe. Now today, Mark's going to read through chapter 9, which is a somewhat detailed account of the deposition that I had to go through, a 24-hour deposition when I was in the federal courthouse in Kansas City, Missouri. Actually, the deposition was taken at another place, Penn Towers building, Kansas City. And that's also where the deposition was given for my supervisor, one of the supervisors, Mark Cheney, who was a flaming homosexual. When they asked him how he would describe himself, he said, "I'm an in-your-face queer that gets angrier every day." Well, he was very angry. He had AIDS. Him and his significant other have since passed away. Doesn't that describe Babylon? I think so. So I'll turn this over to Mark. If you want a copy of this book, I'll be happy to send you a copy. All you have to do is go to LarryWPhillips.com, go to our contact section, send me an email and say, "I'd like a copy of your book, Phillips versus the State of Missouri," and I'll be happy to send you a PDF copy. Let me make sure this is...
Phillips versus the State of Missouri, Chapter 9. Chapter 9, 24-hour deposition, 692 pages. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of wicked. Ephesians 6:16. About to undergo questioning by the Attorney General's office in the form of my deposition for 24 hours. It's been categorized as the longest deposition of the individual in the state of Missouri. It took 63 pages to get the reason we're even doing this. Excerpt, question, what are the strong religious convictions that you're referring to? Answer, the strong religious convictions is found in Leviticus 18:22 as well as the first chapter of Romans as it relates to practice of homosexuality. Leviticus 18:22 states that with man is not to lie with mankind, as does with womankind. This is abomination. In the book of Romans, it talks about that it's a natural act, men with men and women with women. Question, is that Romans chapter 1? Answer, yes. Question, do you have a verse for that reference? Answer, I can certainly look that up if you'd like me to do that. Question, if you want to take a second and look that up, that would be fine. Answer, that would be Romans 1:27. The men will leave the natural use, the woman burn their lust one toward another. Men with men working that which is unseemly and receiving themselves to recompense for error which is meet. Answer, and if you're understanding that's referring to homosexual activity. Answer, referring to men with men. Leviticus 8:22. I'll go ahead. Since we're going there, and read that as well, Mr. Mannion. You open the door, it's a big book. Answer, actually, it's several scriptures that refer to that. Leviticus 18:22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. It's basically my particular faith, regulative principle of my faith resides in the Holy Bible. So that's what I was basing my strong conviction, religious conviction upon. Question, okay, you mentioned your faith. What is that? Answer, I'm a Christian faith. Question, other than your seminary training, what type of religious training have you had? Answer, I was raised in what I would call a strong Christian background from grade school through high school. I attended a Christian elementary school, and then I attended a Christian high school. Question, I'm going to move on to some of the religious convictions that you indicate you held a strong belief that extramarital affairs out of wedlock are repugnant and unacceptable. What do you base that belief on? Answer, that same belief that I base homosexuality on, which is the Bible. There are numerous passages in the Old and New Testaments. In the Old Testament, starting with the commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. In the New Testament, numerous passages as well reinforce one woman and one man in relationship marriage. Question, referring to another belief that you indicated common or consistent use of profane vulgar language is contrary to acceptable religious standards. Would those be your religious standards? Answer, well, it would include my religious standards. It would exclude other people that have the same standards that I have. Question, and I think the last specific belief that you indicate your complaint is that abortion is an equivalent of murder. What do you base that belief on? Answer, I base that belief on going back to creation order. And that conception as to when conception begins, the life of the child is in the womb. And that child is an individual to the inception of 9 months of the mother carrying the child. Okay, question okay. In Exhibit 7, last paragraph, May 23rd conference, the last two sentences. She asked me if I also had problems with licensing those in heterosexual relationships that were not married, i.e. those are paramours in the home. When you say paramours, what is your definition of that? Answer, those who are living outside of wedlock together. Question, so single individuals that are living together. Answer, in a sexual relationship. Question, would that be both male, female relationships and male? Answer, absolutely. Question, okay, then the next sentence, which continues on to the second page, says, I indicated that my religious beliefs were solidly against persons taking foster children in their home or living in fornication, infidelity, and having sexual relations outside of marriage. What is your definition of these terms? Answer, definition of fornication is persons who are married and having relationships outside of marriage. Question, is fornication something that only happens in a marriage relationship? Answer, no, it can happen in a marriage or outside of marriage. Persons who are married having sexual relationships other than with their spouse would be infidelity. Question, you placed a quantifier on acceptable beliefs or opinions. In your opinion, would a practicing homosexual be entitled to those beliefs? Answer, I need to elaborate on that. I have absolutely nothing against a homosexual person. I personally have a challenge to homosexual behavior. My challenge in this whole issue was that I was told that I had to license and endorse homosexual foster parents. Question, just out of curiosity, what does your religion teach about forgiveness? Mr. Mannion, I'm going to object. What is this, the Spanish Inquisition? Mr. Mannion, on the record, note my strong objection. I tolerated for about 45 minutes this theological inquisition was personally to me completely irrelevant to the issues on the case. Question, do you remember what the question was, Mr. Phillips? Answer, could you repeat it for me? Question, what does your religion teach about forgiveness? Answer, love your enemies so that spitefully use you and persecute you and say all manner of evil against you falsely. To love those people, and that's my firm belief, and I believe there is a firm distinction between tolerance and the issue of unconditional love. I think that a person has, our Constitution states that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Those rights are to have faith in our own convictions, and that we're not to be imposed upon and told what we are to believe. I guess that is the distinction as it relates to mind control. Question, what was the subject matter that supervisor inserted rather than name approached you about? Answer, I was approached by a co-worker who was very distraught of the fact that she had told She had to go out and license a homosexual foster home without getting the criminal background check and so on. Question, so be issue that supervisor inserted rather than name and approach you about what was a licensor of homosexual foster parent. Answer, that was one of the issues. I just wanted to give you just a small sampling of the grilling deposition that I went through to prove the case against the state of Missouri. The good Lord was with me to complete 24 hours. Questioning, I had my moments many times when I was praying for God to guide me, give me strength to answer the questions in a way that would be pleasing to Him. Of course, in terms of preparing our case, we also had to post many witnesses. I never dreamed that this case would take on the significance that it did as we got close to trial. The homosexual supervisor was deposed, and many of my coworkers, as well as others in the agency, testified. I saw the hand of God protect and defend me throughout the entire process. I want to take this opportunity publicly to thank Him for His protection and guidance at a time in my life when I found He was my dearest friend.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, thank you.
Now I just want to go on record. I've changed my position on what I stated in court there when I said I believe that we're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. I don't believe that anymore. Okay? I don't believe that we have rights. Now, I'm talking about people in general. I'm not talking about God's elect. Now, God's elect have something much better than rights. God's elect have been blessed with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. Okay? But as far as inalienable rights, that's a false concept, and it's perpetrated by the Roman Catholic document, the Declaration of Independence, which says that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. All men are not created equal. There are two kinds of people on the face of the earth. There's the elect and there's a reprobate. So that's a whole other topic. May the good Lord be with you today. It's my prayer. God bless.